All right, and week back, gonna talk a little bit about college football here. Football, as we know it, it's over. That sounded way more dramatic than I meant it to be. At the end of the day, the season's over for both college football and the NFL. So we look forward to 2025, 2026, and I want to talk a little bit about one thing that each team is going to need going into next season. I'm not going to talk about every team. Unfortunately, I wish I could, but that would take me forever. I'm just going to use the AP poll and talk about those top 25 teams. I anticipate the preseason poll for 25-6 looks different than the end of year 24-25. I digress. At 25, Colorado, I want to talk about this. At the end of the day, they need to find the stars. Last year, they relied heavily on the stars for this team, and they all are going to the draft. So now it's who's going to step up and replace those stars. It's up to Coach Prime and the coaching staff there to identify that and build through those players. Very similar thing for Memphis, right? They lost almost all of their offensive production. Seth Hennigan, a 4-year starter, gone. Mario Anderson, who had 1,300 yards, 8 touchdowns on the ground with 52 catches, gone. Brandon Thomas, 9 touchdowns, gone. Rock Thomas, 66 receptions, gone. Demir Blankenmuth, Kobe Drake, Anthony Landfear, all had 33 catches. They are all gone. Who's going to replace all of that, and how quickly can they get on the ground running? For UNLV, it's who is going to step in and be a good receiver for them. Right, their top returner is Jaden Bradley, 9 catches for 173 yards and a single touchdown, because Ricky White going to the NFL and Jacob DeJesus transferred to Cal. The transfers that transferred into UNLV, you have to get production out of them immediately, or UNLV is going to be in some trouble. Again, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but Missouri, same thing. Who is going to be a playmaker on this offense? Bo Prabula is transferring in from Penn State to take over for Brady Cook. But outside of that, Nate Noel, Marcus Carroll, both went to the NFL. Luther Burden, Theo Wise, Mookie Cooper, all either going to the NFL or used up their eligibility. Who's going to come in and be a running back in that team and a receiver? Next up, I want to talk about Army, right? This team brings back a lot of their production, especially on defense. But offensively, again, who are you going to find that's going to take over for someone like Bryson Daly? Hit almost 1,700 yards, 32 scores on the ground. Connie Udo, 1,100 yards on the ground with 10 scores. Udo transfers to Arizona State. Daly's out of eligibility. You're going to have to find some offensive pillars because the defense is going to be great again. A lot of these teams that are on the back half of the top 25, next up I want to talk about Syracuse, is dealing with the same thing. They have to revamp their roster, right? You lose Kyle McCord to the NFL. Running back LaQuinn Allen, Jackson Meeks, Oronde Gadsden, all gone to the NFL. You don't have pretty much your entire offense. You got to find guys to replace those guys. For South Carolina, the big question mark is going to be the defense, right? Dylan Stewart obviously was awesome. Brian Thomas is going to be back opposite of him. But of the 8 defenders on South Carolina that notched at least 4 tackles for loss, those are the only guys coming back. Kyle Kennard, TJ Sanders, Tonka Hemingway, Bam Martin Scott, Debo Knight, Debo Williams, Demetrius Knight, all went pro or exhausted their eligibility. You're going to have pretty much an entire new defense. South Carolina's offense, again, out of the teams that we've talked about, bringing back the most production, especially at the QB position with Lenore Sellers, but at the end of the day, this defense is going to be very different. For Miami, it's who's going to be a receiver, right? Carson Beck, as it comes in, is the quarterback. You have that position settled. But guys that are returning for them, it's Elijah Lofton at tight end and JoJo Trader. JoJo Trader had 91 yards. Elijah Lofton had 150 yards. That's it. Xavier Restrepo and the rest of that receiving room are gone. Obviously, you bring in CJ Daniels and Alex Bowman. CJ Daniels is awesome, but I would be willing to bet that Miami's still looking to find more weapons in the portal at receiver. Alabama, it's all about who's going to be quarterback. I don't know why I'm just so tired. So I'm yawning. My eyes are watering. I mean, who's going to be the successor to it, right? Is it going to be Ty Simpson, his backup? Is it going to be Austin Mack? Is it going to be 5-star Keelan Russell? Whoever that is, it's up to Kalen DeBoer to find out. For Illinois, it's all about the receivers, right? We just talked about it with Miami, but for Illinois, Pat Bryant, 54 catches, 10 touchdowns, almost 1,000 yards. Zachary Franklin, 55 yards, 4 touchdowns, 650 scores. They were the only receivers on the Illini team to surpass 300 yards. And you're going to be looking for Hudson Clement to fill that void, but you're really feeling like you're losing a lot of receivers, and it's going to be interesting to see how they handle it. For Iowa State, same thing, right? Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins each had 80 receptions for 1,100 yards, or almost 1,200 yards, and 8 touchdowns. They're both gone. So that's a lot of production to replace on the outside. Iowa State went and got Chase Doyle from East Carolina. He's a promising guy who's probably going to replace at least some of that. But again, you're looking to see who can replace all of that production lost. For Clemson, it's the running back room. And now listen, you have Jay Haynes who's recovering from an ACL tear, right? But it's tough to rely on someone coming back from an ACL tear. I'm not going to say he can't do it, but it's a slightly red flag. Obviously, Kate Klubnik coming back. The receiving room hasn't lost anybody. I mean, they should have a great passing game, but obviously you lose Phil Maffa. Running back is really just the only question mark on this offense to me. For BYU, it's the D-line. That's the biggest question mark. Like, the linebacking core should be one of the best in the Big 12, especially probably the best in the Big 12, one of the best in the country. But the Cougars lost Tyler Nelson and Tyler Batty, Blake Mangelston, and Isaiah Bagna. 144 stops, 16 and a half for loss are all gone. That's a lot of production to lose up front. And at the end of the day, the question mark is going to be, can they replace that? If they can replace that, they're going to be in the running for the Big 12 title again. For SMU, it's everything on offense. It's more the playmakers, but it's the entire skill position groups outside of Kevin Jennings. He's coming back, but Bashard Smith, gone. Receivers, Roderick Daniels, Kayshawn Smith, Moochie Dixon, all were seniors last year. So you're rebuilding and reloading those pretty much entire positions, and it's going to be interesting to see what that looks like for SMU come 2025. At number 11, Ole Miss. It's the same thing, right? Ole Miss, obviously, that's pretty much transfer you at this point. They're losing so many skill position guys, right? You're bringing back Caden Lee, who had 800 yards, Daquan Wright, and that's pretty much it, right? You're gonna have to replace Jackson Dart, Henry Parrish, Ulysses Bentley, Trey Harris, Jordan Watkins, Antoine Wells, Caden Prescourt. I mean, they are missing so many different pieces, and it's gonna be interesting to see how, I almost said Lincoln Riley, how Lane Kiffin does it, because I mean, he's the transfer GOAT, like he objectively is, and he brings in guys left, right, and center, and they all produce. So it'll be interesting to see what he has up his sleeve. For Indiana, it's all about their D-line, right? Mikhail Kamara, he comes back, but outside of that, they have to revamp their entire D-line. CJ West, Lionel Carr, James Carpenter each had 37 plus tackles, and they're all gone. For Tennessee, obviously they have Nico Iamaleava. He's a stud, but outside of that, they're really losing everything at their offensive skill positions. Dylan Sampson went to the NFL, obviously, and Nico Iamaleava is going to get better, but you're losing tight end Miles Keatsman, Dante Thornton, Brew McCoy, and Squirrel. They all went to the NFL or ran out of eligibility. Squirrel White transferred to Florida State. Don't really know why he did that, considering he would have been like their wide receiver one, but I digress. It's going to be interesting to see what the offense looks like in Knoxville. Obviously, Josh Heupel made the playoffs for the first time this year, and it'll be interesting to see what Tennessee can do in year two of Nico Iamaleava. For Boise State, it's all about finding the cornerstone. Obviously, we all know they had Ashton Shanty, the Heisman runner-up, but he's gone, right? He obviously went to the NFL, and it's going to be interesting to see how they retool their offense, because I doubt they have another guy that can just objectively fill that void at the running back position. But they are bringing back 4 offensive linemen. I'm retooling the receiving core a little bit, but maybe Sire Gaines takes over, or is it quarterback Maddox Madsen? He obviously was good. It'll be interesting to see what they do. For Arizona State, it's all about the complementary pieces on the offense, right? Sam Levitt comes back. Jordan Tyson comes back. Obviously, he missed the playoff game against Texas, but you're losing Cam Scatterbo, and that was awesome. 1,700 rushing yards, 600 receiving yards. They pretty much just need guys to fill in. And you're not going to replace Cam Scatterbo, but hopefully you can replace him in the aggregate. Shout out to Billy Bean. And if you can, Arizona State's going to be a dangerous fucking team. For Georgia, it's honestly going to be all about the offensive line, right? 4 starters from last year's group are all gone. Dylan Fairchild, Monroe Freeling, Ernest Green, Micah Morris, all logged substantial snaps last season, and they all are gone. So it'll be interesting to see. Georgia, obviously a team, when you play in the SEC, you usually have pretty good or dominant offensive and defensive lines, and it'll be interesting to see how they handle a pretty much new-look offensive line with a new quarterback as well. Penn State is bringing back a lot of the guys that they lost last season, or that they had last season, but they are losing a lot of their targets, right? Tyler Warren obviously gone. He had one of the best seasons from a tight end ever. Harrison Wallace transferred to Ole Miss. Don't really understand that. They're going to be a run-focused team as Nick Singleton and Katron Allen comes back. But you need more of a threatening pass game, otherwise people are just going to load the box. You hope Devontae Ross, Kyron Hudson can come in and they can make a substantial contribution, but at the end of the day, like, these guys, Penn State has not really gotten much out of their transfer wide receivers, and if they continue that trend, they're going to be in trouble next year. For Texas, it's all about the defensive tackles, right? The edge rushers on this team stacked with experience, but their defensive tackle, they were all seniors this year. Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton, Jermaine Lowell, Bill Norton, all either were seniors or declared for the draft. It's going to be interesting to see who can kind of step up in that room and help Texas front sevens stay as good as they were. For Oregon, it's all about the secondary, right? Their entire secondary. They're not returning a single starter. Obviously, they went and get Purdue safety Dylan Thieneman. Jaleel Florence has come back from injury, but they're remaking their entire coverage group. That's going to be tough to recover from. And it's just like when you lose a mass amount of players, it's really tough to kind of come back and be the same team you were the year before at a position group. For Notre Dame, it's all about the quarterback. Last 2 years, it's been Riley Leonard and Sam Hartman getting 2 transfer quarterbacks. But this year, Notre Dame going with either Steve Angeli or CJ Carr. Steve Angeli had a hell of a drive in that playoff game. But it's going to be interesting to see which one of them wins that battle. I imagine Angeli has the inside track to that job, but that's going to be a big question mark for Notre Dame going forward. And for Ohio State, obviously you just won a national championship, so obviously you try to bring back as much as you can, but it's their offensive line and their defensive line. I mean, on the offensive line, you're losing Josh Simmons, Donovan Jackson, Seth McLaughlin, and Josh Fryer. That's 4 of your 5 offensive linemen. And then defensively, Jack Sawyer, Tyleek Williams, Ty Hamilton, and JT Tuiyomolau, all gone. And again, Ohio State has a lot of talent on both sides of the ball in the trenches, but that is a lot of talent to lose up front. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about each team and see not necessarily like what they were going to lose, but just more of like what they have to produce or what they have to like return, what they have to replace. Geez Louise, I couldn't find the word. Going forward for next season. Just want to talk about college football. I miss college football already. And if you want to see me do more videos like this, make sure to comment down below. Comment down below what videos you want to see me do next. Make sure to like and subscribe. And YouTube thinks you're going to like this video. Find out if they're right.